What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy, Motor City Don P. We're back here once again, and you already know what time it is. It is time to talk about that grit, that grind, bust that rhyme, about that slime. Engine number 9, going down the East Coast line. You already know what time it is when you see me in front of your TV. One thing's for certain, three things are for sure. Number 1, the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. Number 2, we came to give you stats, not none of that static. And number 3, perhaps the most important number of them all, number 3. Want to make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. You may be asking yourself, how Mr. P does one keep their Lions news pragmatic in these trying times? I'm going to tell you. Make sure you smash like button, subscribe, and share with your peoples. And once you've done these 3 things, in any order you've done them in, it doesn't matter which order. You've indeed kept your Lions news pragmatic, and you may be talking about, or you may be asking, well, what about my peoples? Well, since sharing is caring and you bring your peoples to the stream, you got to tell them what the stream has. You got to tell them, look at y'all. You got beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb. Bonjour, hong hong, oui oui, Motor City Kitties, back up in your city. I'm your host, Motor City Dompy. Sorry for the problem with the internet. We have restarted the router, and now we are good to go. What up, though, everybody in the chat? We were talking about the beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lambs, rams, hogs, dogs, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken, you name it. You name it. We was talking about all that. We got interrupted. We got all the news. We got all the shoes. We got all the drinks. We got all the brews. You know what it is. We got some stuff to talk about. Robert Stevens, man, welcome to the off season. Buddy, there's some things in store for you. There is news that ain't news. There is a little bit of news that's all a bunch of news. There is news whenever there's news. There's topics wherever there are topics. And we're grasping at straws trying to get to each and every one of them. So welcome. Welcome to the off season. Last off season, I called it the silly season. I coined that phrase. Me and me alone. Nobody else. If you hear anybody else using it, they stole it from me. Unless it's people that I associate with. I coined it the silly season. Last year, someone named Marissa Meyer said that the Detroit Lions quarterback of the future was Justin Fields. Then she doubled down this offseason and said some craziness, or maybe it was the same offseason or the next season, but she said some more craziness. So this is the silly season. Yes, people will say things and we will latch on to them and we will talk about them. They will be hypothetical in nature or they will be firmly based in the truth. It is what it is. All right. Appreciate you, Robert Stevens. So what up, though, everybody in the chat? What up, though, to all the people who are lurking, who are twerking, who are smirking, who are working? And if you're doing that other thing and it's very freaky, I don't want to know about it. If you're doing that other thing, it's very illegal. I don't want to know about it. I don't want to be a witness at your trial. I don't want to be a witness at your trial. All right. Let's start off with this. Yeah, because this offseason has been underwhelming, to say the least, so far. And if Brad and Dan are both agreeing to this, then they both best hope it works out. We're going to bring in the Artak Hal. Let's bring in the Artak Hal. Let's not waste any time. We're going to bring in the Artak Hal. Okay? Why are we bringing in the Artak Hal? Because we want to get right to it. Want to get right to it? Trouble in paradise. Trouble in paradise. Rolling in paradise. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? They really have written an article about Miles Adams. That's how you know we are firmly in the off season, folks. They wrote an article about Miles Adams, not Miles Frazier, Miles Adams. I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go, y'all. Here we go, y'all. This is from Detroit Lions on SI. You already know what it is. It is the Doc, John Macaron. He says, rumor, Campbell, Holmes have definite roster construction differences. Not maybe. Not a little bit. Definite. Definite. And we're going to get into my take on this after we read the article, but definite. Says the strategy the Detroit Lions have deployed in free agency this offseason has been debated by many pundits and supporters. I'm a pundit. I'm a pundit. All right, with a core group of players that features all-pro talent on both offense and defense, the free agency strategy has been a little head scratching. Detroit, after failing to make the playoffs in 2025, has moved on from veteran free agents and replaced them with players that are signing one-year contracts and are butt cheeks, buns, booty butt, cheeks, rump, booty butt cheeks. All right. General manager Brad Holmes has the unique challenge of trying to win now, but also work to maintain the team's level of success down the road. I don't know why that's a unique challenge. If I will interject here. I don't give a flying flip. I don't give, and excuse my language here. And if you know, use the hashtag. I don't give a filth-flarn fifth about sustained success. I want to win now, and I couldn't give a filth-flarn about what happens tomorrow. Because, GMs say the darndest things. Anyway, if you know, use the hashtag. So it says that Brad Holmes has the unique challenge of trying to win now, but also work to maintain the team's level of success down the road. I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care. We don't care. We don't care. You want to talk about sustained success? We don't care. Give me a Super Bowl today. What happens tomorrow? We don't care. As in the immortal words of Mike Tomlin, we do not care. The standard is the standard. We do not care. All right. Detroit has had a winning season for the last 4 years, but the lack of playoff success the last 2 seasons has been head-scratching. Injuries have been a factor, but the acquisitions in free agency and in the draft have not helped the team get over the hump. Not at all. The organization was half away from appearing in the Super Bowl back in 2023. Since then, the team has regressed. An upset playoff loss to the Washington Commanders should have sent the front office into urgency mode. Instead, free agency has been used to plug holes, but not to add many high-impact players. A caller into 97.1 The Ticket shared with host Mike Valenti and Rico Beard that he actually wondered what Dan Campbell thought of the moves since he was tasked with coaching the team and maneuvering a roster that is going younger. Valenti replied to the caller, "Well, I'll answer your question this way, and I'm not being coy, but I'm also not in the business of burning people. Someone who covers the team told me that this was the first offseason. There are definite differences of opinions in roster construction between Dan and Brad. Detroit is again one of the younger teams in the league. The revelation by Valenti is actually quite interesting to examine. Could the roster strategy be coming from Campbell, who is always in favor of competition? Holmes comes from the Rams, who tend to be quite aggressive in their roster building strategies. Could Campbell be the driving force behind younger, hungrier players, while Holmes would be willing to target better players? Whatever the difference is, it appears the organization is also having the same debates as supporters and the media about how the roster was built. I call cap. In different area traps. Cap. We capping in the 404, the 313, the 478, the 612, the 305, the 213. We capping in whichever area code we go into. Why are we capping? Stay tuned. I'll let you know. But let me see what your comments are doing right now in the comment section before we get into my take. Not much going on in the comment section. Oh, and AJ Epinesa at $5 million. Unique challenge. Can you define unique? If you know, you know. Define unique. I'm over here, detective. Define unique. All right. The reason I call Cap. Why do I call Cap? I don't call Cap on the story. I don't call Cap on Doc. I don't call Cap on Valenti. I don't call Cap on the caller. But I'm calling Cap on, calling Cap, Ernick, is Brad Holmes. I'm calling Cap on Brad Holmes. Brad Holmes is a capologist living in his house in captivity. Right? Okay? Living in his house in captivity. At the Capitol. I call Cap on Dan Campbell. Living in his house in captivity in the Capitol. Why? Because Dan Campbell let the story be told on Inside the Den. Brad Holmes told the story on Inside the Den. Both of those people wanted Broderick Martin. And if you sit up here and you tell me that more than one person wants Broderick Martin, and more than one person is in agreement that this team needs to go out and draft Broderick Martin, I will show you a cap so big you won't be able to fit it. All right. Inside the Den episode, Brad Holmes drafting Broderick Martin. Is somebody pulling the cap strings? Or you mean the lying strings? Or do you mean that Brad Holmes is a puppet? Here's the thing. Inside the Den episode where they drafted Broderick Martin, Brad Holmes said, "Oh, me and Dan were so convicted on Broderick Martin. We were so convicted." And y'all know what I said. You should be convicted of a crime. Coming in here drafting Broderick Martin. What are you thinking? There's no way that two men, and I've said this before, but we're just going back to it. Why? Because it's important. It's important to have the context. There's no way that two men, one, the lead talent evaluator and the general manager, two, the guy that coaches the roster, the head coach, Dan Campbell, can both unanimously look at each other at the same time, complete each other's thoughts and sentences, and understand that both of them want Broderick Martin to be drafted in the third round with the 96th overall pick in the 2023 NFL draft. Broderick Martin was going to be an undrafted free agent. And if you were so convicted that you wanted to just make sure nobody else got him, then draft him in the 7th round where he belonged. It just doesn't make sense, man. It just doesn't make sense. Broderick Martin was not going to be drafted. I don't care. And if you were going to draft him, it should have been in the 7th round. It's going to be in the 7th round. So I don't understand it. Bear spelled backwards is Shreb, and that ish don't make sense. Just like now, everybody is getting into the Brad Holmes side of things, the Dan Campbell side of things. And you know me, I'm right down the middle. And I'm trying to tell you that both of them are at fault for what's happening now. I'm not blaming Brad for the roster acquisition because the truth of the matter is this. Brad Holmes can go, Dan Campbell can go. Both of them can go. The only way that I will say that it's not both of them is if you can prove to me that Brad Holmes drafted defensive tackles to turn them into defensive ends all by himself. That was his vision for the team. Okay. All right. Is Dan Campbell coaching players he doesn't want? Is Dan Campbell not getting the players he wants? If so, this is Brad Holmes' fault. So, is Brad Holmes simply drafting players that he wants to draft with no input from Dan? I mean, that's more likely, right? But if this were the case, then why put on the show inside of the draft room? You're in the war room. Brad Holmes is pounding the table because you got this guy, you got that guy, you got the third guy. Every time Dan Campbell is up there hugging on him and, taking glancing blows to the midsection and all these things. Pause. I don't know. You guys be the judge. Hey, how did you end here with a teddy bear fan on your show? I mean, I guess he doesn't get the love in the Chicago Bears podcast. Now, here's a question. And I want you guys in the chat to think about this one. How do we prove this? How do we prove who is complicit? How do we prove who's at fault? How do we prove that it's more Brad Holmes than it is Dan Campbell? How do we prove that it's more Dan Campbell than it is Brad Holmes? How do we prove it? If we look at the blame table goes Brad Holmes is responsible for bringing players in here. Okay? So Brad Holmes' blame table is pretty low. Why? Because Brad Holmes brought in. Let me see if I can remember everything off the top of the dome. Penei Sewell. Aiden Hutchinson. Jamo. I'm not gonna mention Levi Onwuzurike and Josh Pascal as hits, so I'm not gonna do that. Kirby Joseph. Some might say Aleem McNeil. I don't, but some people do. Jahmyr Gibbs. David Montgomery. Why do I mention David Montgomery? Because David Montgomery was a signing of free agency, which he really hasn't done too much of this offseason. Who else? Sam Laporta. Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta. Brian Branch. Those are the people he's brought in. He's also brought in Levi Onwuzurike, Josh Pascal, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Trinity Benson. Okay. So he's got hits, he's got misses. Dan Campbell coaches this team. And he's responsible to get the players ready. In Dan Campbell's tenure, he's brought in AG, who not everybody loves. All right. So Shep is here. That's Dan Campbell's situation. Sean Dion Hamilton. Here. That's Dan Campbell's situation. Dan Campbell brought in Anthony Lynn, fail. He brought in, he promoted Osama bin Johnson. That's the only passing grade he's got so far. He brought in Johnny Morton, fail. He called plays himself for a while, ultimately fail. Realize that maybe we do need a dedicated person somewhere. He brought in Jim O'Neill. I'm sorry. He brought in Gru Pretzel because he realized we needed a dedicated offensive coordinator. They brought in Mike Kafka. We don't know what that's going to look like yet. Right? The early reaction of Gru Pretzel was good riddance to bad rubbish. So you guys tell me in the chat, whose fault is it? What up, the One Republic? If I was the owner, I might be telling Brad, you've had 6 years to build this roster, so no crazy moves. Because if I have to hire a new GM, I want him to have flexibility right away. Ooh, that would be tough. What up, Doe? Lamico Cardenas. So it finally comes out that bromance is over, in which I never thought they were on the same page from day one. It was all a facade for the fan base. I don't know if it was all a facade. I don't know if it was 100% a facade. But you were lying to me about Broderick Martin. Oh, no. There's no way these two men agreed on Broderick Martin. Because if they did, they both needed to be fired. They both needed to be fired. Because we came to round 2 and we were tired. I shook up the world. I'm so pretty. I'm so pretty. If you didn't know how Joe was going to go, I had to tell you it was going to be round 4. And if you didn't believe I had tricks up my sleeve, I implore you to get out your seat when his feet he does leave. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I'm so pretty. Oh my God. Why do I keep clicking on your name? I need to ban you. Yes, free agent hits are low. Free agent hits are very low. Shout out. So it's a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have been practicing to deceive. As Lamiko Cardenas said, the bromance is over. Never believed it in the first place. It wasn't believable. It just wasn't. It was not. I don't know what's next. If you guys in the chat have your choice over who stays and who goes, how many of you? Let me make a poll in the YouTube. Let me make a poll in the YouTube, man. Let me see. Because you can't make, hold on. Let me ask this question. Let me ask this question. Ooh. There's supposed to be a package for me. Hold on, guys. Let me go get my package. 1 second. I'll be right back. Be right back. Be right back. Oh boy, I tell you. What y'all know about that? It's electric, baby. Oh, about to cook up. Boy, gonna plug that thing up. It's gonna be like, forget Salt Bay. You know what I'm saying? All right. Let me figure this out. Bro, they're doing too much. Talking about you gotta have plugins and all this other stuff. All right, like I said, let me just do it on YouTube. If you're in my chat on Motor City Cats, then you'll be able to see the poll. If you're not, sorry, you won't be able to. All righty, let's see. All right. Let's go to me live right now. All right. Put a poll in here. I'm gonna make it very simple. All right. So the poll in the chat is who goes? The first answer is Brad. The second answer is Dan. Let's get those votes in and let me know. The first vote is Brad. We're 100% Brad right now. We're 100% Brad right now. If you're not in the Motor City Cats chat, go to Motor City Cats right now. Robert Stevens says Chris Spell for GM. I don't know if Chris Spillman wants to be the GM, but maybe. I don't know. I mean, Chris Spillman. So here's the thing. And here's where I stand. You guys know that. Shout out. We'll be talking about this tomorrow on Lion Syndicate or Syndicates 365. Why can't I I can't always just come out with the name? We agreed on the name. I just can't. Sometimes I just can't think of what it is right off the top of my head for some reason. It's crazy. We're gonna talk about this tomorrow. Live at 9 p.m. You already know. Eastern time. My stance on things, like I said yesterday, if you guys were watching the show yesterday, my stance on things is the responsible party must pay. The responsible party must pay. You may not be responsible, but you may have let it happen. And if you let it happen, you are indeed responsible. What do I mean by that? Whatever is going on with Brad and Dan, the responsible parties are Brad, Dan, Sheila, and the group. This whole group, I can't say ownership group, this group that sat down and made up the pact and wrote it on a napkin at Hungry Howie's or wherever they were. Shout out. No free sponsors. Hungry Howie's, Buddy's Pizza, all that. No free sponsors. If you were part of this group and you wrote stuff on the napkin. What up, though, Mr. Detroit City? You are responsible for this. You just are. So when we talk about promoting someone from within, like Chris Spielman, how much of this did Chris Spielman sign off on? How excited was Chris Spielman for Broderick Martin? How excited was Chris Spielman for Hendon Hooker? How excited was Chris Spielman for no one doing anything in free agency? How excited was Chris Spielman for allowing Carlton Davis to walk out of the door? You see what I'm saying? How responsible was he? That's the question we need to answer. Lamiko Cardenas, man after my own heart. He says, just clean house after this season because it's going to be a bad season, especially on defense. That's another question. Do you guys think that if this season is bad, that Sheila steps up? If they don't make the playoffs this season, does Sheila step up and clean house? Does she fire everybody? Even the mayor? Hotel everybody, even the mayor. Right? Melvin is beyond bad. Melvin is beyond bad, says Mr. Detroit City. We got 5 votes, and we got 66 people in here. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. If you're not at Motor City Cats, go on over to Motor City Cats and vote. Going over to Motor City Cats and vote. I forgot to edit something, but I can't edit it now because I'm in the stream. But you know what? If you're not in the Motor City Cats chat and you want to be, there's the link. There's the link to the stream. All right. So that's the other question. If the Detroit Lions fail to make the playoffs this season, is Sheila going to clean house and get rid of both Brad and Dan? Because technically, after this season, they do have another season left. That's usually how it works, right? A lot of money gets spent in the last year of contracts when people are lame ducks. Well, they're not going to be lame ducks this year. They'll be lame ducks after this year. So the question is Sheila going to allow some lame ducks to hang around, or is she going to pull the trigger and make the move? And if you don't think that Dan Campbell deserves to be fired, please tell us why. Because the votes that we have are all Brad Holmes, 100% Brad Holmes. So a lot of you don't believe that Dan Campbell is complicit in this. Please tell me why you believe that he's not complicit. I knew once you put up that survey, the villains was going to be winner, winner, chicken dinner. That is true. Unless the season totally flops and tempers in flame, you think that's when she's gonna pull the trigger and fire both of them? Dan cucks for whatever Melvin wants. Right. Let them both sleep in their bed. They made it. They lay in it. Right? That's my point. Anyone who voted only Brad, okay, it's only 5 votes. Which, come on, people. Come on, people. It's 69 people in, 70 people in here, 71. We're getting more people by the minute. Go over to Motor City Cats. Vote, right? Let your voice be heard. Vote. Is it Dan? Is it Brad? I should have put something else in the poll and said both. Let me end the poll. Let me end the poll and get a both in there. All right. So the new poll is who goes, Brad, Dan, or both? Put another option, Melvin. So far, Brad is batting 1,000. That is true. That is true. All right, we got one for Brad and one for both. Robert Stevens says, I do like Dan. I like Dan too, but make an argument for Dan staying. That's what I want you to do, because I think that the decision is pretty clear. If you get rid of one, you got to get rid of both. But I want you to tell me why. And also, anybody want to call in? I keep forgetting to do that. Anybody want to call in, let me know. If you want to call in, let me know. I'll set it up right here. All right. So if you want to call in, there's the link. You can turn your camera on. You can turn your camera off. It's up to you. Like Derek said, Brad will be relieved of his duties before Dan. But why? That's my question. Why? What up, though, Tactical Sport? You can call in if you want to. We're talking about Brad and Dan or both. They've got this friction now. You said my vote is for both. Players love him, the wall thing, running through the brick wall. Okay. Somebody call in. Why is it if it's just Brad, why is it just Brad? What's the issue? Oh, it's always crazy with you. It is always crazy with you. No, to StreamYard, not the. It's a link. You'll basically be part of the stream. If you turn off your camera, all we'll be able to do is hear your audio. If you leave your camera on, then we'll be able to see you. You'll be like a guest on the show. So no, it's not a number. I just call it calling in because we can talk to each other. If you don't speak up in an abusive relationship, then let them get what they want. That's facts. That's facts. If you want to call in, click on the link. Y'all don't know, boy. Y'all don't know the salt mix I'm about to have in that thing. I tell you. I tell you. I'm telling you. It's about to be on like popping cone. The line is open. My man said my Obama net is only local. Because in an unusual move, Brad was hired before Dan, and the Lions fan base has a special type of love for MCDC. I get that part. Robert Stevens says, can't get the poll off my screen. You have to click the 3 buttons and say close poll. Click the 3 buttons and say close poll. In the videos, they always seem to be in sync on draft day picks. And that was Derek's point. Where are those videos now? Where are the inside the dens? Do y'all remember an inside the den on Terrion Arnold's pick? I think they had one, but they're not as frequent. Hold on, let me see. Let me see when was the last Inside the Den episode.
Cade Cunningham, collapsed lung. I don't wish that on anybody. I really, really don't. I want the New York Knicks to get to the finals. I want the New York Knicks to do their thing, but not like that. I hope he's okay. Hope he's gonna be back. I want us to win. Cade Cunningham, get yourself healthy, my brother. Get yourself healthy. Oh damn.
All right, Inside the Den. Let's search it up. Let's search Inside the Den. Seven months ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 4 months ago. But this was for cancer awareness. 1 year ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 1 year ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 4 years ago. Two years ago, 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 1 year ago. Four years ago, 3 years ago. $10 months ago was the draft episode teaser. 6 years ago. 5 years ago. 7 years ago. Where is the most recent Inside the Den? Where is it? I'm not putting that on the stream, Mr. Detroit City. The Inside the Den video that still gets me is the Gibbs pick and the villain slamming his hand on the table and shouting. I'll tell you what, I will be very surprised. I will be very surprised if Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, and all those people come to day 3 with matching jerseys, matching t-shirts, whatever it is that they do. I'd be very surprised at that this year. I don't know if Cade is vaxxed or not. I just know he has a collapsed lung. I want to see the discussion on picking Test down in the 3rd round and some of the talk about the price. Yeah, I don't think we have that. I don't think we have access to that. Cloud Sugar 1874. So tired of these clickbait speculation titles, like people ain't ever had differences with coworkers before if they were lockstep every second when there is no point to different roles. I think you should go and examine the facade that's been put forth to the fan base. Like we're all buddy, chummy. So if Brad and Dan weren't putting that energy out there, then the title, which is not clickbait, because there are articles, multiple articles written on the topic. Okay, so you need to learn what clickbait means. But there are multiple articles written on the topic. Okay, there's nothing clickbait about this. That's all we've been talking about. Okay, if you don't want to hear the news of the offseason, there are other channels. That's all I'm saying. You know, nobody's had a problem with the conversation except for you, my friend. Right? So this might be an A and B conversation. You might need to see your way out. Honestly, the Inside the Den can go away. They need to put their heads down and get this team to a Super Bowl. Yeah, but my point is, what happened? What happened to the Inside the Dens? That's my point. They are allowed to have different opinions and not be on the chopping block for it. Stupid AF. That's not the point, my friend. But you can chop and block your way on up out of here. You know what I'm saying? You can chop and block your way on up out of here. Bye, Felicia. Starbucks. What are we talking about, Starbucks? Of course, Melvin and Dan don't see eye to eye when one is folded up by the other playing tug. What the frick? That's crazy. I was huge on MCDC, but he's just an ultimate beta. Keep it 100. I always do. That's the only way I can keep it. I don't know how to keep it any other way. Don't know how to keep it any other way. How to be a better GM than Brad Holmes in 2 easy lessons. Hashtag clickbait. That is clickbait. That definitely is clickbait because we ain't talking about that at all. You nailed it. See yourself the F out. He saw himself. He saw himself. And it's funny. It's funny because his avatar is a C. It's funny. His avatar is a C. Said y'all need another hobby rather than speculating gossip. LOL. This is just sad. You are in a Detroit Lions podcast where we talk about the news for the Detroit Lions. This today is newsworthy. Will it be newsworthy tomorrow? Maybe, maybe not. Tomorrow, there will be more news. And guess what we will do with that? We will talk about it. Yesterday, there was different news. Guess what we did about? We talked about it. Do you not understand how podcasts work? If you don't, you can leave. It's fine. It's fine. You don't need to be here. No one is twisting your arm. The door is one way, and you are still here instead of going to the door. If you'd like me to show you the door, I most certainly can. It is not a problem. I'm an equal opportunity blocker. Everybody can get it. Brad has draft trade ideas. The Inside the Den is a good future for the Lions. The problem was the overreacting during the draft. Yes, all the table pounding and all. Look, I'm telling you, I knew it was cap. I knew it was cap when they told me, when Brad told me that him and Dan had such conviction about Broderick Martin. Dan loves Venties. He does. Here's my thing. The defense thinks either we have a messed up scheme or we have had terrible draft picks or both. Either way, they should be able to figure it out. If not, they can go. Oh, our scheme sucks. And I would say the picks on defense haven't necessarily been the problem. Broderick Martin is a bad pick. Levi Onwuzurike, Josh Pascal, those were bad picks. I guess it's an equal opportunity situation. Equally bad picks, equally bad scheme. Tomorrow, let's come up with some real clickbait and put some ish out there. I'm not going to do that. Not me. Bye, Felicia. Did y'all ever watch Living Single? I'm pretty sure there's people in here to watch Living Single. Remember when she used to say, because Khadijah don't need you. Same energy. Michigan is winning against Howard. Okay. Thanks for the update. Shouldn't they be winning by more than 15 points? All right. You know what time it is. Mailbag. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they reading you? Snick is mailbag. Get your mailbag questions in. Get them in. Bask in it. All right. So for the poll, 80% said Brad, 20% said both. 80% said Brad, 20% said both. All right, we're going to end the poll. You know Ill Bill is watching? I hope not. I hope that's not happening. They're still doing the all grit thing. They just need to go back to one pride and leave it alone. What about Shep? What about him? Back-to-back second-round picks, spending more time on IR than contributing. Who's to blame? Ish happens. I don't know if that's a Dan Campbell thing. I don't know if one guy had spinal fusion surgery and that, made it difficult for him to play football. The other guy had cancer. I don't know what it was doing to his immune system and his ability to recover from injury, but I'm pretty sure it had a negative effect. So, yeah. And one of the guys should have just been taken off the market. I shouldn't have to be talking about taking him off the market, and you already know who that is. Pierre Sargent calls him DDI. Davenport definitely injured. That guy should have been taken off the market. The NFL should step in and be like, you're no longer allowed to play professional football in the United States. If you want to go play football somewhere else, you can. Tomorrow's episode should be named Sneaky Good Moves for the Most Clickiest of Clickbaits. That would be crazy. Federal offense, stealing mail kits. Export is not coming back. Well, I'm just saying. You know, it would be, they should have taken him off the market. He's no longer there. Or he's still there. He's still there. All right. We don't have no mailbags. We do need elite defense with Goff. We also need an elite offensive line. So we'll see what's going to happen. All right, guys. We will be back here tomorrow. Talking about some clickbait, I guess, because that's how I get people in here. Gotta clickbait. We don't talk about things that are relevant. We talk about things that are clickbait. It ain't over until he retires and signs with someone. I seen that today with Chris. Sneaky good moves. Mailbag, how fast would you get rid of Melvin? If it gets to the point where we don't make the playoffs next season or this coming season, I would get rid of both of them. Not just Brad. Call him now or first thing in the morning. It would be a call him now situation in that case. All right, y'all. Once again, the Motor City Cats R&D back at it. We came to give you stats, not none of that static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your lines news pragmatic. And we are out. Peace. Clickbait tomorrow, baby. Clickbait tomorrow.